here. It's just going to be an amazing year ahead for our community, and we're lucky to have you. Tonight is the Jewish Federation's chance to say thank you. Thank you to our Board of Trustees, our advisory committee members, our JFS volunteers, our medical advisory committee leaders, and everybody who served our community in so many different ways. Over meetings and Zooms and coffees and emails and conversations and solicitations and brainstorms and drives and deliveries and event organizing and participation, everyone has given so much to our community, and we could not make an impact without you, and we're so grateful. Thanks to you, in the last year we've been able to welcome newcomers, send children to a Jewish camp experience, provide mental health and case management support. We've been able to feed families. We've been able to visit people feeling isolated and so much more. Thank you for your efforts, and I look forward to formally recognizing you all tonight. Tonight is also our chance to formally honor Jamie Rose Eliyahu as she completes her 2-year term as president of our federation, and officially welcome Amy Bush as our new board president. But first, we are honored to be joined by one of Raleigh's own, Michael Guld, as our opening speaker. Michael, who wrote this introduction, by the way. So the jokes are his. Michael is a business development author, speaker, and entrepreneur, and former radio commentator. As a Raleigh native, Michael and his wife, Natalie, who's also here tonight, were involved in the very, very early years in the formation of the Wake County Jewish Federation and the very early planning stages of the JCC. However, once they saw how much work it was going to take to build it all, he and his wife, Natalie, decided to skip town and move to Jacksonville, Florida, and then Richmond, Virginia, running away for 20 years and leaving most of the heavy lifting to the people in this room and watching on live stream. His speech tonight, he said, is the beginning of his payback to help make amends. So, Michael, thank you for being with us tonight. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. You've heard the old saying, when the going get tough, the tough get the hell out of Dodge. So, excuse me. So, just to let you know, we weren't total losers. We were involved. Natalie was on the board of the Federation in Richmond, and I was on the board of the JCC. So, but first of all, I just want to thank you guys for inviting me to speak tonight. And it's really kind of full circle, because the date was actually March 26, 1987. The place was Temple Beth Or, and I was installed as the original vice president without walls of the JCC, the very first federation. It's going way, way back. And being a JCC president, a vice president without walls is like being king with no kingdom. There's really nothing there. But what we did is we did programming. And if you think about it, on May 3rd of that very year, we had our very first JCC Without Walls Federation event. And it was an Israeli film that we played for Independence Day. Think about that, the very first Federation event we ever had. How many events do you think you have now over the course of the year? Literally, it's absolutely hundreds. So the Raleigh Jewish community has been around for really the 1800s, but the Federation for 34 years. 34 years, we're babies in the Federation world, kind of bald babies, but we're babies. So you think about it, if you take a look at, for example, in Richmond is 86 years, and Charlotte is 82 years. Think about that. Now, I'm not going to try to sell everybody that this is one of the greatest places to live, but don't you agree this is actually one of the greatest places to live? I mean, really, truly. I mean, talking to Craig coming in, he said, think about when he talks about people he meets in Raleigh, people who are here want to be here. They want to be here, and once you're here, you don't want to leave. So I was born 1958. We had a population of 89,000 in 1958, right? Fast forward, the year we started the Federation, 1987, we had a population of 275,000. For those who don't know, in Greater Raleigh, which includes all the surrounding areas, 1.5 million is where we are right now, right? Now think about it, 1.5 million. Looking at the population trends over the last 4 years, the average increase is averaging over 4% per year. So if you think about when the Federation began in 1987 to what it could be 34 years from now, it really could be 5.7 million in 34 years now, if you keep at that same 4%, which is just a staggering number. But again, it's not about just the population growth. Jamie, I read your interview with you, and you talked about how Raleigh is one of the most welcoming places in America. You just don't want to leave, right? So by show of hands, and by the way, it's not just the Raleigh natives that made it a good place. Truly, it's the melting pot of everybody else. By show of hands here, how many of you are actually consider yourselves Raleigh natives? Look around and look how many others there are. Okay, got a couple of hands. But that's staggering, really. To the rest of you, shalom, y'all. Welcome to town. So I don't consider myself a motivational speaker, but I do believe in passion. Have you ever heard there's a very, very old saying, choose a job you love, you'll never have to do what? Work another day in your life. Anybody know how old that saying is? Actually, 2,500 years old. That was Confucius that said that many years ago, 2,500 years. Choose a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Think about it. Do you agree also that if you have a passion for your career or for your involvement, it's not as much like work, right? If you have a passion in your relationships, you don't have to work as hard at commitment. And I believe that passion is a difference between liking what you do and loving what you do. There's a difference between getting good results and getting great results. Passion's the heart. Passion's about the heart. And this is especially true when it comes to the nonprofit world, because in any nonprofit, you've got to appeal to the heart first before you appeal to the pocketbook. Otherwise, you're nothing more than a telemarketer. And that's what we're trying to get done. If anybody remembers the Jerry Lewis telethons in the world, what they had, Jerry's kids used to bring them up on stage, kind of controversial, but it worked. How do you know it worked? He began in 1966. From 1966 to 2010, they raised $2.5 billion for NDA, just a massive amount, because they appealed to the heart. And I believe the best way to appeal to the heart, even more than just the branding, is appealing and getting people involved in the community and really tapping into what their motivation is, what inspires them to get involved in the community. So for me, when I first moved back at the age of 28, and we really started talking at the very beginning about the idea of forming a federation, I didn't know what a federation was. All I knew is I used to live in Atlanta, Georgia, where I played basketball and I coached basketball. And let's be very clear, if you want to make it in the NBA, being Jewish is not a genetic benefit, okay? You don't go to Dick's Sporting Goods and see Air Moskowitz on the shoes, the AIRMOSKOW. You have to start at size 16. But in my wildest dreams, I never, ever anticipated what we'd see now when you go to the JCC and the pavilion. It's absolutely spectacular. So why are people involved now, and how can you get people involved? It might be for the JCC like me. It might be for feeding those less fortunate, or for support of Israel. Ziglar once said, if you dream it, then you can achieve it. But as you guys know, it takes a lot more than dreaming to get to what you have. It's a lot more than hoping, wishing, wanting, praying. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. As a matter of fact, Thomas Edison once said that vision without execution is called hallucination. But you're executors, you're builders, you're involved, and you've created. Think about what's possible in the next 34 years, the next 68 years, the next 100 years. I'll tell you, the horse has left the barn. It's incredible to think about what is possible. I believe that the Federation is doing a really good job of branding. I just want to talk a little bit about what branding is. If you think about the top global brands in the world, according to Forbes magazine, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. But brands are important not only in the business world, but they're also important in the nonprofit world. Think about, what is a brand identity? A brand identity is a recognition of a logo. It's a recognition of, but I'm not looking for, when I'm talking to my companies about a brand identity, I'm looking for a brand affinity. What's a brand affinity? Brand affinity is building a love of the company where my new buzzword is decommoditization. Take the commodity out of it. I don't wake up in the morning craving just a cup of coffee. I want a cup of Starbucks. There is no substitute. So my word, again, is decommoditization. And at the end of the year, you've got to appeal again to the heart before you appeal to the pocketbook. But you want there to be an association for your brand and what it stands for. It's no longer about the who, the what, the when, the where. The most important word in marketing today is why. Why should I watch? Why should I listen? Why should I care? So now everybody's favorite station is WIFM. What's in it for me? Going to save me time, save me money, make me rich, make me happy, bring me love, security? Is it going to make the Raleigh and Cary Jewish community a better place to live? If so, I am in. So branding's not just about informing and persuading and reminding. It's about connecting and engaging and educating. You're looking to influence perceptions. You're looking to change behaviors. You're looking to motivate, but most important, you're looking to inspire actions by increased donations and increased involvement. So let's look at some of the nonprofits that you've probably heard of and seen over the years. When I say the word St. Jude's, what's that brand association that comes to mind? You probably think of Marlo Thomas, right? Marlo comes to mind because they've done a great job of building that brand. If I were to say the name Wounded Warrior, what comes to mind? You might think of the emotional commercials and the vets in distress and having a hard time reacclimating, or you may think about the national press they had with the financial mismanagement. So Warren Buffett famously said, reputation takes 20 years to build a reputation, only 5 minutes to lose it. And if people thought about that, they may do things a little bit different. How about, ever heard there was a song by Sarah McLachlan called Angel? Anybody know that song? I would love to sing it for you, but I'm not going to. But if you hear the first piano bars of that song and you see those puppy dog eyes of the dogs and the cats behind the cages, what do you think of? You think, oh my God. I've had people say, I've got to turn off the commercial. I cannot watch anymore. I've had one other person tell me, every time I see that commercial, I give. Even Sarah McLachlan said herself, she can't watch that commercial. And she is absolutely amazed by the success. When they first started running those commercials, 2007, I believe it was, they raised $30 million in their first 2 years since then. That was their most successful fundraising campaign ever. So you've got to appeal to the heart before you appeal to the pocketbook. Another thing that the SBCA has done very effectively is breaking it down to the lowest common denominator. They say for $18 a month, you can make a difference. You can help these pets in distress. What sounds better, $18 a month or $216 a year? So the question, again, it's not about the who, what, when, where. The most important question is why. Why should I give? Why should I be involved? What's the brand identity of the Federation? What do you want that logo to stand for? When you see it, it may be different things for different people, and that's okay. One size doesn't necessarily fit all. So Yogi Berra once said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. You might have heard that. There was a period of time when we were trying to figure out the future direction of the JCC and the strategic meetings we sat years ago, and I think it was at Doug and Stephanie's house to kind of figure it out. And that was actually kind of the first time I ever met Jamie. Jamie, I knew your dad for many years before that. And I want to just compliment her that she was very vocal. I think you came out of your shell that night. But what I loved about that, she was very vocal on what was not right, what needed to be done better. And for those of you who've been in the community a while, it's really easy to throw rocks at a glass house. But it's another thing to say, this is what's not working well, but I'm going to get involved and help fix it. So, Jamie, I want to tell you, you were part of that action plan. I just want to thank you for your involvement. Thank you for standing up for that. Amy, we've known each other every day of our life. Okay. From the holiday gatherings on Ridge Road, we've been friends forever. And we watched and listened and learned as our parents were so involved in the community, from the synagogues, the temples, the Federation, and the JCC. Amy, you're a doer. And the fact that you are now coming back a second time, I think is just mighty impressive. So thank you for your constructive, for your time, for your involvement, and for everything, and wishing you nothing but continued success. Good. And for the group getting ready to be installed, congratulations and thank you. Let's face it, there are many things you could be doing besides doing this over and over again. Many of you have been part of the organization or involved because you've seen where it's come, but all of you are focusing on what the community can be. I remember there was a speaker at Ronald Reagan's wedding. I never forget this. He said that leaders are not the ones who do great things. Leaders are the ones that inspire others to do great things. So, as your role, you're going to be talking to a community and leading them in the right direction. So thank you for your help. So my last parting words are as a very tired volunteer who kind of thought at a time that the same people were having to step up year after year, step up to the plate to get involved. And so my last two words are succession planning. Succession planning. Yes, fundraising is a large part of the what we're looking to accomplish, but I will tell you it's outreach, it's awareness, it's involvement, and finally recruitment to really bring on future generations who will be sitting in your seats in the future. So Jamie, imagine 34 years from now, when you're actually being asked to give a Federation installment keynote address and talk about the challenges that we had way back in 2020, 2021. And you're going to talk about the challenges, but also you're going to set a challenge for them moving forward. Think about what this community could be in the next 34 years in 2089. For that, on that futuristic note, I just want to wish everyone much success in your new term and just thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael, and I appreciate the branding advice. We're going to definitely take that to heart, and I'm glad we could have like a marketing committee meeting tonight. It's great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do over the next little bit, we have a series of special presentations to honor different groups in our communities, culminating with the installation of our new board. So first up, to thank all of our JFS volunteers, we have Lemore Schwartz.
That was a dramatic intro. It's so lovely to see all of you. I can't see if you're smiling, but I think you are. So thank you for being here today. I hope there's some people watching us in little cubes from home too, but it's lovely to see you here face to face. Volunteers have always been the lifeline of JFS. We really cannot do what we do or continue to grow what we do without our volunteers, but it's particularly in the past 20 months. So today I really would like to acknowledge all of our volunteers. Some of you are sitting here today that have really helped us through the past 20 months and continuing. Since the beginning of COVID, our volunteers have given about 4,000 hours of community service to benefit our community in Wake County. They supported community members. They really just asked what it is that we need to do to make sure that we can continue running. Just like all of us, they all had to navigate through a lot in the past 20 months. They had to navigate through a complex new life to figure out their own emotions and feelings about that, to help their family members, and yet they also put as a priority to make sure that their community is well and supported. They put that in such high priority and made sure that we can continue supporting older adults to feel connected with regular outreach calls to make sure that they're not feeling isolated, that they have everything that they need, or even providing some tech support. Some of our volunteers were sitting in driveways with masks on, face shields on, gloves on, just to make sure that an older adult can know how to turn on Zoom so they can talk to their grandchildren. They made sure that families, children, adults, and older adults all have access to healthy food, nutritious food for their tables by delivering meals all over Wake County. So sometimes we've been driving to North Raleigh, 5 minutes away from your house, and we have volunteers to drive 45 minutes away to make sure that somebody has a kosher-style meal this Friday. They made sure that older adults living in senior living communities feel connected and engaged by facilitating Shabbat services, sometimes in person and sometimes on Zoom, which is a whole new world to learn. And they did so much more. So we are incredibly grateful for all of our volunteers' dedication to all the values that we represent at Jewish Family Services, Tikkun Olam, Gemilut Chasadim, and Tzedakah. And we're grateful for your selfless acts to benefit our community. So toda rabah and yeshar koach.
Thank you, Limor. And our next group that we're honoring, just like the JFS volunteers, I'm not sure we could have gotten through the last 20 months since COVID started without them, our Medical Advisory Committee. And to thank them, Beth Richmond.
Good evening. In March of 2020, when the world was shutting down, and we were desperately trying to navigate what was it going to look like for the Federation, for the JCC, for JFS. How were we going to feed people? How would kids be able to go to camp? How were we going to make sure that isolated seniors were being served? We were being inundated with information from the CDC, from North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, from JCC Association, American Camp Association, NJHSA. There was a lot of things for us to look at. None of us were physicians or scientists, so at times we were reading different articles and different recommendations, and we didn't know really what would work for us. So it became really evident pretty quickly that we needed a group of advisors. We turned to Mike Ross, who is a physician and is on the Board of Trustees, and we said, Mike, are you willing to chair a medical advisory committee to help us get through this pandemic? Whatever that meant at the moment, which we didn't really think meant 20 months and counting. He, of course, stepped up and said yes. We populated a committee of really amazing professionals with different areas of expertise, people who, frankly, left their egos at the door, left any personal agendas at the door. We met on a regular basis, a couple times a month, sometimes a couple times a week. Sometimes it was an email, sometimes it was a full meeting, sometimes it was an emergency phone call. But this group of individuals stepped up in every way we could have possibly needed them. From medical advice to operational implementation of mitigation strategies, whatever it was. This group allowed us to serve our community during this pandemic when the world was shut down. They allowed us to continue to offer in-person services when we weren't sure we could. Whatever that looked like, whether it was counseling at a distance from someone's driveway, whether it was face coverings at camp all summer long, distancing at the pool, rearranging furniture in spaces, rearranging offices so our staff could come back in the building, buying air purifiers, whatever it was, we could not have done any of it without their guidance. I'm happy to say that I've enjoyed you didn't think you'd enjoy working on something through a pandemic, but I've enjoyed immensely working with this group of individuals because their passion for what we were doing was absolutely remarkable. They were answering phone calls at night, they were answering phone calls, in the middle of their work days, and they always had the best interests of our community at heart. Would they be safe? Would they stay healthy? And could they get the services they needed? And they married those things beautifully. So I would like to thank the following individuals who have been serving our community for the last 20 months and are continuing to do so because I just sent them an email on Friday about Camp 2022. So it's hard to believe we're talking about our third summer during this pandemic, but they are continuing to serve. Dr. Michael Ross, Jeff Engel, Hope Seidel, Joanna Kipnis, Suzanne Zorn, Elaine Hubble, and Alan Kritz. So toda rabah.
Awesome. Now we're going to recognize our outgoing JFS Advisory Committee, followed by the JCC Advisory Committee. So for JFS, we have Lee Moore.
All right, and if you are here, we would love if you stand up so we can acknowledge you. But the JFS Board of Advisors for 2020 and 21, and thank you for your work, for your advocacy, and for dedication to our mission. Jasmine Medoff, Chair. Gina Brown. Mara Buxbaum. Rachel Cohen. Dara Greenberg. Linda Mildworth, Judy Rosales, Lori Thorne, Ellison Weinreb, and Sally Zanuck. Thank you so much.
We'd also like to thank the JCC Board of Advisors who have been serving through 20 and 21, who have helped us make programming decisions, operational decisions, and again, really helped guide us through this incredible time that none of us could have imagined we'd be facing. So please stand up if you're here. Steve Horvitz, JCC Chair. Jeff Hirsch, Courtney Hirsch, Marilyn Shannon, Jamie Kennedy, Debbie Orrell, Jonathan Kramer, and Carol Larson. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And to both advisory board committees, we appreciate everything that you've done. And in your honor, we have planted trees in Israel, and we have a certificate for everybody before you leave tonight, if you're here. And if you're not here, we will mail them to you. Jamie, do you want to join me? Jamie's going to come up and join me because now is our chance to recognize and thank our 2020-2021 Board of Trustees for the Federation. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for hiring me and bringing, thank you again. And bringing Mindy and I and Simon to Raleigh. But really, thank you so much for all the work that you do on behalf of our community over the last year, for being patient with me and my team over my first year, and for your support in building up our community every day. I would especially like to thank our outgoing board members who are not returning to the board in the coming year, but hopefully they'll be back in another term. Sally Ann Gupta, Monica Udell, Stephen Feldman, and Carly Abitbull. Thank you. As we've already alluded to in reference, the past year has been, and more, has been pretty challenging as we continued into year 2 of dealing with the pandemic, with figuring out how to reopen, how to be cautious with the variants, and most importantly, keeping our eye on everything we can do to bring people together. And yet, in the last year, we've seen our women's philanthropy movement be reinvigorated, and this group is engaging hundreds of women a month. We have grown a new business leaders professional network that is investing new energy into our community. We just had an event this past week. We had our biggest summer camp summer ever, which was very exciting this summer. We dramatically increased our services to our community members facing barriers through all of the different core services that JFS offers. We fed more people than ever through our food bank. And we did this all while professionalizing our organization, onboarding a new director, and clarifying a vision for our organization. And while all that was going on, Jamie, perhaps nobody has been more central or essential of a worker on behalf of the Jewish Federation's behalf than you, Jamie Rose Eliyahu. Jamie, you've been my partner, my confidant, my advisor all year, and I'm so thankful to have had you in your role in my first year here in Raleigh. Additionally, though, for the organization, It's not just me. I think you've been everybody's partner, confidant, and advisor. You led us through a seriously chaotic period. You helped our staff through it, you helped our board through it, and you helped our community through it. Thanks to your steady leadership, amazing, supremely amazing networking skills, and consistently positive outlook, the Jewish Federation is for sure in a better place now thanks to you. And how do I know this? Our campaign is growing, our engagement numbers are growing, our professional networks and affinity groups are growing, our camp has grown, our sports leagues, our J Sports programs is growing, our family services are growing, and seriously, Jamie, you've had a hand in all of it, if not more. I think you have, I know it wasn't the maybe term you imagined, and we've talked about that, but you have so much to be proud of that you've accomplished and that the Federation has accomplished over your term and on your time on the board. And I'll just add so far, because you're continuing on, and I'm so grateful that you'll be staying on the board, not only as our past president, maybe one of the best positions in all of organized boards, but also as our outreach chair. I don't think there's anybody that could be better in that role, and because I think you know everybody here in Raleigh. And if you don't, you will pretty soon. So thank you so much, Jamie. None of us could have done it without you, and you're really an amazing leader.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, everyone here tonight. Let me take this off. Oh. All right. So 2 years as president has gone by in a blink of an eye. In these 2 years, many of us have struggled, mourned, and lived life differently than ever before. But during that time, the Raleigh-Cary Jewish Federation continued to work tirelessly to build a warm, welcoming, connected, and vibrant Jewish community for all. When I began my time as president, I had 2 main goals: building connection within our community for people throughout the Raleigh-Cary area, and clarity about the organization. Right before my presidency began, we had celebrated the grand opening of the David R. Kahn Community Campus and our beautiful covered sports pavilion, as well as the 25th anniversary of the JCC. That was so much for our community to get excited about. These were the last big in-person events held by the Federation because shortly afterwards, we were devastated along with the rest of the world and had to shut down amongst the COVID-19 pandemic. But during that time, the Federation was able to operate and make huge differences for our community. Many of these we've talked about tonight already. We've helped people in need with food, emergency assistance, and therapy services. We provided connection when we could not safely connect in person because the JCC and Federation continued to reach out to our community. So many people have told me how much they appreciated and needed it during that time. We have helped with anti-Semitism when it has occurred locally. We've created relationships with local politicians and government leaders. We have successfully ran our Camp JCC, giving children in our community a sense of normalcy and more. These 2 years have been transformational for our Jewish Federation. We restructured the organization and hired our new executive director, Phil Brodsky. He brings new ideas, energy, and excitement to our organization. Next month marks Phil's first anniversary with the Federation, and we are so lucky to have him as part of our team. I definitely think that that was one of the best things that we did during my 2 years as president. We are also very close to having our biggest annual campaign in several years, which will in turn help Jewish people throughout the community, in Israel, and around the world. If you haven't yet given to our 2021 annual campaign, please consider doing this so that we can continue to serve the community in the best possible way. Being a leader of this organization and within this community has been a privilege. It is truly bittersweet for me to end my presidency tonight. We have so many wonderful people in this community who join together to help out. One thing that Judaism teaches us is that there is not one leader, but we all have to work together as leaders to help one another. Every one of you in this room and throughout the area, and especially the members of the Board of Trustees and advisory boards, have been such a part of the success of the Federation, and I thank you all for all that you have done. Without you, we would not be where we are today. I definitely could not have survived these 2 years without all of you. Tonight, we start a new chapter for the Raleigh-Cary Jewish Federation. Amy Bush and I have many similarities, and I look up to her for guidance. We are both Raleigh natives, both real estate professionals, although I'm in residential and she's in commercial, and we have a deep love for this community and Federation. I think it also means something that tonight's installation is being held in this sanctuary at Beth Meyer, because both Amy and I have a long history of personal events in this room. One memory for me, happened right here, is when I was bat mitzvahed and my grandmothers both presented me with my talit at the Friday night service. It was commented later in the weekend about the presence of strong female leaders that I had to look up to. There is something to be said for the female leaders of our Jewish Federation, both today and in the past. I am the 3rd Jewish woman president of our Jewish Federation, and Amy will be the 4th. The female presidents before Amy and I were Carol Guld, who's here tonight, a lifetime honorary trustee of our board, and Amy's mother, Eileen Schwartz of blessed memory, and also an honorary trustee. What a path that is wonderful for both of us to follow. I know that Amy is excited for her new role. We have worked together closely for the last 2 years, and I look forward to working under her guidance in the future. I leave you with this tonight. It is not incumbent on you to finish the task, but neither are you free to absolve yourself from it. Thank you.
And thank you, Jamie. As I mentioned before, just like with our advisory boards, a ring of trees was planted in Israel for the Board of Trustees from 2020-21. And Jamie, for you, your own ring of trees has been planted in Israel in honor of your service to the Jewish community. Thank you. And we got a really nice plaque for you coming as well. Do you want to call up Mark Davis for the installation? No, I think she's just,
Okay.
see.
All right, and at this time, we would like to call up Justice Mark Davis to install our new board.
Good evening, everybody. Such a joy to be a part of this special ceremony every year. Jamie, congratulations to you. We're all in your debt. The following proposed officers and trustees of the Jewish Federation of Raleigh-Cary have been presented to and approved by the community. No nominations were received by petition as designated by the bylaws. When I call your name, please stand. First, officers, President Amy Bush. First Vice President, Craig Medden. Treasurer, Doug Kahn. Secretary, Marcy Novick. Vice President for Fundraising and Development, Mark Goldhaber. Vice President for the Jewish Community Center, Steve Horvitz. Vice President for Jewish Family Services, Jasmine Medoff. Vice President for the Jewish Community Relations Council, Judah Siegel. Vice President for Operations, Mike Isaacs. Vice President for Strategic Planning, Steve Firestein. Vice President of the Jewish Community Foundation, Rob Hubble. And now the trustees, immediate past president ex officio and outreach chair, Jamie Rose Eliyahu. Corporate giving chair, John Bucksbaum. Finance chair, Harvey Smallheiser. Governance and nominating chair, Frank Kirschbaum. Israel Connection Chair, Alan Kritz. Personnel Chair, Michael Abramson. PJ Library Chair, Karen Daniel. Women's Philanthropy Chair, Debbie Granick. Facilities Chair, Mark Weiner. Affinity Groups Chair, Michael Lewis. At-large member, Mike Ross. At-large member, Alan Brilliant. I would also like, we have two more.
Yep. You don't want to forget anybody.
Even in court, sometimes we have last-minute changes.
Yes. He's community outreach liaison.
Okay.
And Lewis Sings, IT chair.
All right, Matt Krantz, Community Outreach Liaison. And IT Chair, Lewis Sams, sorry. At this time, I want to mention our two beloved honorary trustees, our lifetime honorary trustees, the one and only Carol Guld. Who just permeates every aspect of this ceremony. And a blessed memory, Eileen Schwartz. Our hearts are always with her. First, I would like to thank the outgoing Board of Trustees for all of their hard work. Please give them one more round of applause. All right, for the newly installed and existing Board of Trustees, the mission statement of our federation states, in part, quote, guided by the Jewish values of tikkun olam, repairing the world, and tzedakah, righteous giving, the mission and purpose of the Jewish Federation of Raleigh-Cary are to strengthen and support our local and regional Jewish community and serve as the facilitating force that connects generations, congregations, and the unaffiliated alike, end quote. The Federation has provided programs and services for our Jewish community for the past 30 years. And I, too, remember the JCC Without Walls very well. And Michael, that was a wonderful speech. As we have all witnessed over the past few years, this is an exciting time to be part of our community. And we are blessed with a growing and vibrant population. As trustees, your role will be to help improve on these programs and services, meeting the community's changing and expanding needs. From all of us, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your commitment. And it is with great pleasure that I officially declare you the newly installed officers of the Jewish Federation of Raleigh-Cary. And let me close with one legal term, Mazel Tov.
Okay, so I talked a lot about Amy during my speech, but it is now Amy's time. So Amy doesn't really need so much more of an introduction, but Amy is an institution here in Raleigh. She and her family are from here and have served the Jewish community for decades. I spoke about her mom, Eileen, which is a wonderful path to follow. Amy is energetic, passionate. She loves people and loves to talk about the Federation and our programs. We are so excited for Amy to become our next president. So, Amy, please come up.
Okay. Whoop. You hear me? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. It's very exciting to see you here. I see lots of family, friends, a fantastic new board, our outgoing board. I can't thank you enough. I'd also like to thank you, Phil, and our Federation staff, Beth Meyer and Claudia Cadis for the beautiful flowers that you wonderfully donated to us tonight, and every other volunteer that worked to put this together. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Jamie for your last 2 years of service as our Federation president. Her tenure came at a very difficult time. We faced challenges of COVID-19 and hiring a new director. As the youngest Federation president ever to serve, I don't think anyone's mentioned that tonight, she led with great poise and confidence, keeping the Federation in an upward trajectory. On a personal note, I would like to share that my Federation journey began in 1994, when our fledgling community had the opportunity to establish a JCC with the purchase of the Boys Club of Wake County. We started as a J without walls, which today has grown into the beautiful David Kahn campus. Thank you to all the leaders who have stepped up to make our dream a reality. I am very honored and excited to be your next Federation president. 17 years ago, my mother, Eileen Schwartz of blessed memory, was installed as president on this very bema. So tonight is bittersweet as I start my journey in her footsteps. I thank her for living a life of leadership and philanthropy, which she so lovingly passed on to me. So, you may be wondering, what do we expect this year? Well, the Federation staff and Board of Trustees has worked very hard to develop a clear vision and mission statement. Everything we do as an organization needs to be focused on our mission to keep us moving forward. I would like to touch on a few of those goals that do reflect our mission. 1, engagement and connection. We need to be inclusive, engage people wherever they are, and nurture their connectivity to our community. We need to have multiple entry points through targeted programming, support services, ambassadorships, and mentorships. We must communicate effectively in both traditional and in social media. 2, educate about Federation. The goal of Federation is to serve as the hub of Jewish life in Greater Raleigh. We need to consistently educate the community about the impact of the Jewish Federation. We want people to know who we are, what we do, why we do it, and also to understand the financial resources needed to support a growing community such as ours. A strong federation will sustain a thriving, vibrant Jewish life that we all so deserve. 3, growing Jewish philanthropy. We are a young, growing community that has quickly outpaced our resources. It is a great problem to have. We need to start new traditions of philanthropy by creatively growing our donor base and challenging current donors to step up. We are at a critical crossroads and need to act now. Your seat at the Federation table is waiting for you. Please join me in strengthening our community now and for generations to come. Lador Vador. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. We got a little something for you to start your presidency off right. Thank you, Rachel Weissman. Okay, awesome evening. I'm so excited to work with our new board that's here and watching from home. Amy, I'm so excited to start working with you and start talking every day like we did last week. Just before we go, a couple announcements. First, I thought I'd give our new board and our friends and family here a very exciting update on our 2021 annual campaign. We are on pace for a record-breaking year. We're currently over 90% of our raised to our goal. Our goal this year was $715,000, and our reach goal, our stretch goal for this year is $800,000. And I think over the next 8 weeks, we're going to get really close, if not hit it with all your help. Yeah. I know for sure we're going to reach our goal, but if we can reach that stretch goal, not only will it be a new high for our federation, but all the additional funds will go directly toward expanding our programs and services that we've heard so much here about tonight. More books in kids' hands through PJ, more meals we can deliver and people we can feed, more hours of necessary and needed mental health and counseling and case management support, more kids that can attend our summer camp, including for families who need special accommodations or scholarships, and more support for our community through crisis management and standing up to anti-Semitism. It's so exciting what we can do when we all do it together. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's so nice to do this in person, to have such a nice group here. Our next opportunity to get together as a full community is on December 2nd at our Hanukkah Glow Party, which is going to be at the David Archon Community Campus. There's going to be food. There's going to be heaters. There's going to be donuts. There's going to be music. There's going to be glow sticks. It's going to be an awesome, awesome time for us to all hang out, let our hair down, and just enjoy being in community with one another. That is Thursday, December 2nd. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Congratulations again to Jamie and Amy, to our new board. Thank you, everybody who supports us, our board members, staff, and volunteers, and good night. And go Panthers.
Any of you who were on the board previously, your certificates are out in the lobby. Please feel free to grab it.